Welcome to Words Unspoken, the Hills podcast.
We are two Southern sisters rewatching The Hills and chatting about it for your entertainment.
I am Susan, and I'm a 30-something photographer.
I'm Jem, and I'm a professional in my 30s.
Today we will be discussing episode 6 of season 2, You Have Chosen. We start out the episode at the coffee shop with Heidi and Lauren are chatting, and we discover that Heidi has decided to give Spencer another chance after their dramatic breakup in the last episode.
How many chances would this be at this point, Susan?
I want to say it's like 3 or 4, maybe more. I'm not quite sure.
That we know of.
Exactly. Lauren just looks at Heidi in disbelief, like, I just can't believe you're going to take him back. You can tell she's really shocked. I think she thought, okay, that was it. It's finally going to be over.
The body language in this scene is painful. They're just looking at each other across the coffee shop, and all the hands are waving and all the eyes are rolling and tearing up and, palms going over the face. If somebody was watching from afar, they would know this was not a conversation that was going well.
It was definitely very awkward.
They did a good job of talking things out. Again, I commend them for their level of conversational skills. It didn't end so well. It was not very productive in the end.
Lauren compares Spencer to Jason and says he plays mind tricks on Heidi. And she's like, he is not a good person.
So here's my take on that whole piece. I mean, we know that Lauren is trying to compare the situation to her deal with Jason. And she brings it up. She refers to it. She's thinking about it when she gets upset. But it almost kind of reminds me of a parent who's trying to save their child from going through the same suffering they might have been through at their age. And people have to learn lessons the hard way. Maybe if Lauren had been a little bit more subtle about why she was doing it and not referenced Jason so much, Heidi might not have been pushing back so hard, because in her mind, she's like, Spencer and Jason are totally different. Spencer's amazing. Every girl in LA wants to date him. Which is not true.
In Spencer's defense, though, the big problem with Jason, one of the big problems, yes, he was a jerk, but he also was an addict.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, Spencer is just a jerk. He's not an addict, so I feel like it's a completely different situation, and for her to compare the two is really not fair to Spencer. She shouldn't compare him to Jason. She should just be like, look, he doesn't treat you right, and end it there. It doesn't have anything to do with Jason. I don't know if she's comparing him to Jason because, later in the episode when Heidi says something about she feels like Lauren dated Jason because it ruined their relationship somewhat, which I actually don't really remember him getting in the way that often. I think she was pretty supportive of Lauren with the whole Jason fiasco. So I don't know if that's what she really means. She's comparing it to, oh, we had a distance when I was dating Jason. But she seems to be saying it reminds me of how Jason treated me. And I don't think that's the case. Unless she's talking about the cheating and the flirting with other girls, it's just hard to know what Lauren really means.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Spencer was an addict. He was addicted to the drama.
He definitely is addicted to the drama. But it's funny because Heidi says, I'm just going to have fun and see what happens. If you're already saying I love you to someone, you're already past that I'm just having fun part.
Yeah, it's too late to have fun and see what happens when you're quote unquote in love.
And of course, she thinks that Spencer will change because most girls at 20 years old think they can change a guy, which, ladies, that rarely happens.
Has it ever happened ever? And if it has, please shoot us a tweet and tell us all about it. We'd love to hear about this once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'm going to jump in quickly and make a generalization about this show, Susan. This show was so iconic for women our age at the time. I was just, picking up on little things during the coffee shop scene, and both girls were wearing black nail polish. And I think I might have mentioned this early in the podcast when we first started, years and years ago. But I wore black nail polish the first time because I saw it on LC, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And it's amazing to think about how many cues that women our age probably took from them, because they're obviously ahead of the trends in their part of the world compared to our Southern lifestyles. So, just their haircuts and their jewelry and accessories and all those bootcut jeans.
And the camis, the little lace camis.
Oh, those camisoles and the lowrider everything. And yeah, it's just all the tank tops in the land. So yeah, it was a different time, and it's just very nostalgic to watch
Well, I think that's one reason that people are still watching The Hills because, it's 11 years later now. And most reality shows, people don't still watch it or talk about it. We're doing a podcast. People actually listen to the podcast. And it's still hugely popular, as we know, because, of course, we're on Twitter all the time tweeting about it. People are still tweeting about it. So it's a very iconic show. And most reality shows just don't last like that.
This one definitely holds up. And it's not just because of the drama and the characters, but there's just all these little, slice of life moments, but from the lives of people who are incredibly privileged and living these fabulous lifestyles, but they still run into all the same issues that, we ran into at their age. So.
And another thing I think I really enjoy about this reality show is seeing now that 11 years later, most of the girls, like the main girls, are very successful in their businesses and their family lives. Like most of them have their own businesses and make a lot of money and are very successful. And I just really enjoy that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, they've all turned out okay for the most part. Some of them are having some unusual adventures, which we'll get to at another time. But yeah, it's good to know that everybody's doing okay now.
Absolutely. And so back to the actual episode in the coffee shop, Lauren kind of takes a hard line and says, look, we're still friends, but I don't want to talk or hear about Spencer and I don't want to hang out with him. That's a pretty bold statement, Jem.
That's kind of the death knell of the friendship right there. It's basically saying you need to choose between us and you've chosen your choice and it's the wrong choice and I'm judging you for it.
I don't really agree with her position here. I understand why she doesn't like Spencer. He's obviously working against her. He's trying to break up her and Heidi. It's very clear, but that's a very hard line in the sand to take. It's not a great idea to ask someone to choose between their boyfriend and best friend, but I understand why she does that, but I would not have probably done that. Sometimes you just have to suck it up. But she does say, I will be there for you when he screws you over. Dramatic pause, because he will. It was such a genuine conversation. I felt like it was so real and not like, oh, let's recreate this conversation we already had.
Every friend can see in her good friend's life when a relationship with a significant other is going to go south in the end. And you can sit there and predict it all you want to their face, but they're not going to listen to you. We've all been there. We've all been on both ends of that.
Oh, definitely.
Spectrum. So
for sure.
It's just a rite of passage in life that hopefully does fade away.
Yeah.
After the first couple of decades of your life, but not everyone is so lucky.
Yeah, and Heidi just doesn't want to hear it. She's like, can we just leave? And they leave, and it's really sad. So then we head to the bread bar for one of Spencer and Heidi's famous daytime lunches.
Boring lunch dates. Andy Wolf whistles at her when she walks up, whilst he's just sitting at the table twiddling his thumbs, and I found that annoying.
He brings her a giant bouquet of roses because that fixes everything, Spencer.
She said it looks like a rose garden.
And Spencer has to make sure that he says how expensive they were, and he broke the piggy bank for that, which you do not say when you're giving someone roses. That's super rude.
You're so tacky, Spencer.
Then we actually have what I consider one of Spencer's best conversations that I can remember, in which he admits he wishes he hadn't been such a jerk in the beginning, like he's having regrets. And I really enjoyed it because his whole tone was completely different. He sounded really genuine and like he wasn't putting on something. I really liked that. Did you have the same feeling, or did you feel like he was putting it on?
No, I felt like it was completely, as genuine as we've ever seen Spencer be. But in his mind, his popularity is waning amongst so many people outside of Heidi that, from his point of view, he's like, well, this kind of sucks. Like, why can't I be lovable like Brody on this show and with this crowd of people? So it's just kind of like people who apologize for getting caught. They're just mad that they got caught. He's just mad that he hadn't been such a jerk to everyone because he would just be more of a popular character in this crew. That's my cynical take on it. But I do think it was genuine. I just think that's where it's coming from.
And I always wonder what his motivation is. Is he just doing all of this stuff to stay relevant on the show? Or is he really just trying to separate Heidi, hoping that Heidi will become like the main star of the show over Lauren? Or does he know that if he doesn't create drama, he won't be on it as much? I just really would love to know his real motivation. I don't think we ever will, even throughout the whole show.
I don't think we will either, but I do love when he says, what can I do to get Lauren to like me? And Heidi's like, you mean everybody? And he was like, yeah, what can I do to get everybody to like me?
Like no one likes
him. He's at a low point on the popularity ladder this day.
Yeah, like, oh, you have to prove yourself to Lauren and everybody else. And he kind of laughs derisively, and it's just a disaster. And then he says, are we going to have a slumber party? And she's like, yes!
Because that's when it's called when you spend the night with your boyfriend.
When you're exchanging I love yous, it's not a slumber party, Heidi and Spencer. So then we head back to the Hillside Villas, and Lauren is reading a magazine as Heidi breezes in with her flowers. She proceeds to give them to Lauren and say that they are from Spencer.
Sneaky, sneaky Heidi, trying to make everything okay.
Oh, Heidi. I was rolling my eyes so hard during that scene.
We need to stop and take a quick moment out for all the cat ladies. Because there's a super cute cat that Lauren's cuddling in that scene. It is adorable. And it disappears, and I'm not sure that it's ever seen again. But it's super cute. So, hey, cat, and hey, cat ladies that listen to us, because we know you do, because we've seen you on social media with your cat.
I know, I thought that cat kind of looked like one of mine. But speaking of never seeing the cat again, I want to take this moment to talk about something we had discussed a long time ago and never addressed. And I found out the answer from social media or an article or something. Do you remember Heidi's dog Bella that Jordan got for her?
Yeah, the Christmas dog.
Well, remember we were like, what happened to Bella? She disappeared after Heidi and Jordan broke up. Well, I have an answer. This is terrible.
Oh, no.
I read an article, and Jordan said that Heidi got rid of Bella. And
got rid of her?
Somehow got rid of her, and how his parents were mad because they actually had bought Bella. Jordan didn't even buy Bella. His parents had, and his parents were mad that she just got rid of the dog that I'm sure they paid a lot of money for. Isn't that awful?
Number one, adopt, don't shop. And number two, you don't get rid of your dog, no matter what horrible dumpster glowering ex-boyfriend gave it to you.
But anyway, I just wanted to do that update very quickly. So this is a really awkward scene as Lauren's playing with the cat, and Heidi starts packing her bags because she's going to stay with Spencer that night for their slumber party. And she's like, okay, bye. And Lauren's like, oh, you aren't staying? No, I'm going to Spencer's. And they exchange the most awkward and tepid I love yous as Heidi flounces out the door. And you can see this episode should actually be called The Dissolution of a Friendship.
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like. It's so awkward.
The thrill is gone.
Jem, the title of this is called You Have Chosen, but I like my title better, so maybe that should be the title of our podcast for this week.
I mean, it's going to be your choice because you're the boss. So.
Done. So then Audrina calls Lauren and is like, do you want to come to my apartment for dinner? We have a ton of food. So Lauren goes up there and they have a good gossip session about Spidey.
And they eat dinner like grown-ups at the table.
The funny thing was when I was watching, I rewatched it today because even though I had watched it a little while back, and I was like, oh, I do remember that feeling in college and eating dinner with your friends, like making dinner, not getting dinner, and realizing, oh, I'm kind of a grown-up. Like, remember our spaghetti meals we used to do?
I do. How could I forget?
We were like, oh my gosh, we're so grown-up. We went to the grocery store and we bought spaghetti, and we're making like spaghetti. We made spaghetti because we were so poor and we didn't have any money.
We were so poor. We would have like 10 friends and cobble together all of our resources and make these delicious meals, and they were probably like the best meals ever.
But we thought we were so grown up because we actually ate like on real plates and stuff. So it reminded me of that. It was funny. Yeah, at a table. So anyway, they're basically making fun of Spencer, and they really think Heidi is in over her head, and they just have a good little gossip session. Then we move to Teen Vogue, and Whitney and Lauren are talking about Heidi and Spencer. Whitney's just super sympathetic about the situation. Like, everyone knows Spencer's bad news. Heidi shouldn't be with him. So then we go out on the street, and Heidi and Spencer are walking along hand in hand, and Heidi is like, Spencer, come to the club with me and Lauren. Hello, Heidi, did you not hear Lauren say she did not want to hang out with Spencer? Spencer wisely says he doesn't want to go. All of a sudden he's like, oh, I don't like Lauren. I guess he doesn't want to make it up to her anymore or convince her to come around to his way. And Heidi's just pushing it. And I know that is what girls do. It's like they want their best friends to like their boyfriends. But it's like, you know what? Just back up a little. You're pushing it on both sides. Like, neither one of them like each other. They don't want to be friends. And Heidi's just determined. And I don't think she realizes it's too far gone. Like, they are not going to be friends.
We want to avoid any kind of drama, and we want everybody to like each other. So let's all go out to the club in the middle of the night and get drunk, and then everything is going to work out great between these people that have so much tension amongst themselves.
Oh, you naive little Heidi.
Sounds like a winning formula.
So then we head to area. Heidi, Lauren, and Jen Bunny show up at the club.
And there's a lot of
Lauren's like, your boobies look pretty to Heidi. It's hilarious. For some reason, that made me like laugh so hard.
That was funny. I wrote that down too. And Heidi was wearing the pearl necklace, which again, millennials, if you don't know, was a very fashionable accessory in those days when you're going out on town for day or night, really.
Absolutely.
Whereas now, when I wear mine, I feel like I'm a 100-year-old lady in the office, but I still love my pearl necklace.
So Heidi says, it's time for us all to grow up. And she gives this little speech, and Lauren gets this look on her face like, oh, great. She was probably immediately thinking, Spencer must be here. So they head upstairs, and Lauren and Brody share a hug, and Spencer is there, of course. So when Heidi and Lauren are sitting on a couch, you can tell they've already been having a few drinks. So Heidi says, do my boobs look big? Just kidding, don't answer that. But do they? It is so funny. That is hilarious.
I found it to be foreshadowing for Heidi's life.
Yes. Obviously, Heidi's already having body issues because you can tell she's super insecure about how she looks. And it's sad, but it was still funny.
And she looks so cute.
She is beautiful.
But we know how people, especially women, struggle with those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And we definitely don't judge or degrade someone for that because we get that. And Jem and Susan for Social Justice are always here to talk with our listeners about that. And we've had some conversations with some of you out there about these things. And we welcome the discussion and the dialogue and definitely want you to chat with us about that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Then things just start going downhill, Susan. Just downhill, down below the hill, underground, into like the center of the earth.
Because, of course, Spencer starts chatting up other girls right in the club. Heidi's there. Everyone can see. Audrina is like, oh my gosh, talking to her friend Clint. Is like, well, it's happening again. I hope Heidi can't see. It is just the same old story. Happens every weekend. It is ridiculous. Audrina's kind of laughing about it, but he's hardcore, like kissing this girl on the cheek. It is ridiculous. You do not do that when you have a girlfriend that you say, I love you. You don't kiss another girl on the cheek unless it's like your sister. It's ridiculous. What a scumbag. So, of course, Audrina has to run over and tell Lauren, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have to get Heidi out of here before she sees. At this point, I'm kind of like, no, maybe you should just leave it alone and let her see and let her deal with the consequences as she's the one who doesn't want to deal with how Spencer is. So then Brody and Lauren are arguing about it because she's so mad. I can't believe Spencer's doing that. Then Spencer goes over and grabs Lauren and yanks her to the side to talk to her. Let me tell you something, Spencer. You do not grab a woman like that and start aggressively talking to her. That infuriated me.
And he said, we are so making peace, by the way. His gesture was the opposite of his words. And
yes.
That's not how you start off a peacemaking conversation. Maybe it was his first. Let's give him a little leeway there. Maybe he'd never tried to make peace with someone before, and he thinks if you yank him by an appendage and then inform them that you're going to be best friends, then everything's going to be great. But he did find out that is not how it works.
You also, when you're trying to make peace with someone, don't tell them to relax and take a deep breath.
Yeah, no, that's the worst idea ever. So this progresses into just like multiple grainy scenes of drunken fighting. Jen Bunny is very open-mouthedly chewing her gum in the background of every scene, which I found to be
usual.
Hilarious.
She's always chewing her gum.
Bunny in the background. That's going to be our podcast spinoff that we're going to start eventually.
Lauren really doesn't like it when he says he's worried about their friendship. That's when she gets super livid. She's like, you don't need to be concerned about me and Heidi's friendship. Me and Heidi's friendship is fine. And Spencer's like, well, I am concerned about it. And then
Which is just threatening,
and
basically.
Spencer's like, challenge accepted. I will now proceed to ruin your friendship for real. Like, everything's over then. It is open war. And then Spencer tries to shush her. Another thing you do not do to a woman. That was so rude. And Lauren at that point walks away. Spencer rubs his hands together in glee as he continues his evil plan, Jim.
Did he really rub his hands together?
I think I made that up. Anyway, so Brody starts gossiping with Spencer about it, and Spencer declares he will never get within 5 feet of that girl for the rest of his life. For the rest of his life, Jem.
Spencer, if you're serious about that, you should probably go get some sort of restraining order for yourself.
Lauren immediately cabs away as Heidi comforts Spencer, and my reaction to that is, girl, please.
You just chose the wrong person.
You just chose your choice, and it was the wrong choice. So then we head to Brody's condo the next day. Lauren comes over, and Brody is like, what's up with all this drama? Brody starts defending Spencer's behavior, which is super annoying, but he's like, I'm going to defend my boy. And
you know what, Susan? I think that Brody really likes being Switzerland.
Yes.
He wants to make everyone happy. He wants to be the neutral one. He also never wants to be blamed for when anything goes wrong. And he wants to stay friends with everybody. And someone hosting this podcast right now used to think in their younger years, that is a real thing that can actually happen. But as you learn and become a mature adult, you realize that not everybody's going to get along. And sometimes, groups split off from one another, and that's okay. And Brody's just too neutral, doesn't really allow himself to take one side, but there's a lot of grinning and giggling and eye rolling coming from him that kind of say the words that he's not speaking aloud.
Oh my God, Brody is so cute.
He's so cute, and his hair is so tall in the scene. It's kind of uncomfortable to me. If it were on Brent Bolthouse, I would be like, oh my gosh, Brent Bolthouse's hair was so tall. He looked so cute.
Oh my gosh,
Brody,
where's Brent? We need some Brent Bolthouse in our lives.
And we even go to Bolthouse in the next scene, and he's not there, so I'm unhappy. I'm an unhappy viewer of the show right now.
So Lauren says she would never choose a guy over a friend and denies that Heidi is happy because she says, if I was fighting with my best friend, I would not be happy. So then we skip to a scene where Brody and Spencer are now talking, and Brody's kind of gossiping and creating trouble.
And he's still giggling and grinning and rolling his eyes.
And he says Lauren needs to stop worrying about other people's lives.
That's kind of like a cold thing to say.
Maybe they should stop worrying about Lauren's lives.
Maybe Brody should stop trying to get with Lauren.
Did Spencer say that?
I have no idea. I hated all of this.
Yeah. So Brody's kind of giggling about Lauren, thinking about the roses are from him, when Spencer says, I just gave the roses to Heidi, not Lauren, and he's giggling about it.
He doesn't really giggle, Susan. He snorts. He snorts and laughs, which I always appreciate.
Absolutely. So then we head to Bolthouse, and Spencer calls Heidi, and they start gossiping, and Heidi's like, I'm the happiest I've ever been, in like the fakest voice. And Spencer, you can see him slowly starting the process of getting Heidi to move out of the apartment. This is the first step.
It has begun. Speaking of the evil plan and the twisting of the hands, or what did you say? He rubbed his hands together.
Rubbed his hands together in glee. Heidi's been put in a really terrible position at this moment, because I feel like Lauren has kind of given her an ultimatum, and now Spencer is kind of giving her an ultimatum, or at least he's planting in her head these seeds of doubt.
She really is caught in the middle, and it sucks. It really does suck.
Yeah, it really does. I feel really bad for her. And then we come to the best part of the episode, Jem.
Yes. So for all of our listeners right now, I need everybody to drop what you're doing, pay attention to the episode if you haven't been already, because Susan and I are about to discuss what happens next in this episode, and it is not what you think we're going to say. So, Susan, why don't you get started, and I'll fill in the blanks.
So as we move from the Spencer and Heidi scene to the FIDM scene, a song starts playing, First Try by Val Emmett.
So literally, I guess maybe a little bit before this show came, actually a lot before this show came out, we were at another artist's concert, and we saw Val Emmett open for this band, and the minute we saw him play, we were just amazed. He was incredibly talented, and his songs were great. And so from then on, we started going to his shows whenever he would come through town. Fast forward years later, he has written incredible albums. The song playing on this particular episode is from a record called Sunlight Search Party, which is literally one of my favorite albums ever made in my lifetime. We sound like we're gushing, but we are dead serious. This guy's ridiculously talented. He's a beautiful poet, songwriter, has a great voice. Susan, why don't you give a little blurb on Val and the other things that he's done as well? well, because he's quite prolific.
Absolutely. As you said, he's a singer-songwriter, but he's like so multi-talented. He's been in TV shows such as Ugly Betty, 30 Rock. You probably know him from those shows. I'm sure you've seen him. And most exciting of all, he actually wrote a novel, which is coming out later this summer, called The Reminders. So you should really check him out. He's such a talented person. All his music is amazing. He is my number one favorite artist. He is the most talented person ever. So check out his website. It's valemich.com. That's VALEMMICH. Check him out. He's amazing.
And Val did not pay us to do any of this. Our love for him is so great that we just had to shut it down for a minute and chat about it. I think a lot of you who listen to our podcast and watch The Hills and other similar shows, like Susan said, you will recognize him if you see his face, but we know that you will love the style of music that he plays.
So really what Jem and I are doing is we're doing a huge favor for you by telling you to listen to him, because it will open up your musical world in ways you never dreamed of, Jem.
And this will not be the last that you will hear from Val Emick on The Hills soundtrack.
Foreshadowing, Jem. So we're at FIDM and we have a dramatic montage over this song. Lauren looks very miserable and stressed out, and it's really sad. And then she's driving home and she looks miserable, and we're at the Hillside Villas and Heidi is making dinner, and it's really, really awkward. We proceed to the most awkward conversation ever. You think the coffee shop scene earlier was awkward? This is way more awkward. Lauren sets the record straight and tells Heidi what she really said to Brody.
And Heidi asks, "Do you think I'm unhappy?"
She tells Heidi, "You've chosen." And Lauren says she wished she hadn't told her how she felt, and next time she won't.
And then Heidi tells her about the flowers.
And she's just like, oh. She's kind of done.
That's the last straw.
Yeah, she's like, oh, okay.
Big mistake, Heidi. Huge. Although, there was one bright spot in the scene. I spotted a box of Honey Bunches of Oats on top of the fridge, and oh my gosh, I love cereal so much.
You're so obsessed with any kind of cereal. Every year for Christmas, I give you boxes and boxes of cereal.
Ugh, last week was so amazing. My husband brought home Fruit Loops with marshmallows in them that are like Lucky Charms.
What?
So it's like mixing Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms. And he got me a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yummy.
And 2 boxes of Honey Nut Cheerios. They're all gone.
Did you say last week this occurred?
Yes.
Wow.
As in the past 7 days.
Nice. So anyway, Lauren dramatically walks away from Heidi. Heidi goes and dramatically packs a giant suitcase, and she walks down the halls of the Hillside Villa, leaving Lauren alone in the apartment.
Does this episode of The Hills pass the Bechdel test?
Jem, this episode of The Hills does not pass the Bechdel test. There's no use in talking about it. They literally talk about nothing but boys, because even their friendship stuff that they talk about, all their friendship stuff, directly has to do with boys. So no, this episode does not pass the test.
Yeah, I have nothing to say from a Bechdel standpoint. This is a lost cause. Winners of the week.
Jem, I don't mean to be super negative and all these things tonight, but I honestly don't have a winner of the week. I don't think anyone won. It was like the frozen wasteland of winner of the week, so I don't have one.
I, on the other hand, have an amazing winner of the week. And no, it is not the florists of LA, despite the rose garden that Spencer broke the piggy bank for. My winner of the week, Susan, is you, because you are wearing a diamond tiara. Like a real diamond tiara.
I just want to be a princess.
I think this is from your wedding.
Jem, I love that you think this is a real diamond tiara. It is not
Oh.
real.
What is it?
It is from my wedding, but I did not wear a real diamond tiara.
Oh, well, I meant it's not like a kid's play tiara.
Right.
Like it's an adult wedding tiara. And I wore it in my wedding too.
Yes.
But listeners, not only is she wearing a diamond tiara, Susan is wearing a Superman t-shirt. And I don't really understand any of it, but I love it, and that's why she's the winner of the week.
Thanks, Jem. The reason why I'm wearing my tiara is because I saw it on my bookcase where I just always keep it for some reason, and I decided to put it on in honor of Heidi. And my Superman t-shirt are my pajamas.
Oh, well, that explains everything. You're just channeling Heidi's spirit. Who would not want to channel Heidi Montag on any night of the week?
Absolutely.
Jem and Susan's funniest moment.
Mine's super easy. Mine was when Spencer told the girl to lick his neck in the club.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was my funniest moment. It was funny and disturbing. My funniest moment was when Heidi gave the flowers to Lauren, and Lauren said, "Are the flowers going to Audrina tomorrow?" Classic.
There are some people in LA that are. There are some people in LA that are. There are some people in LA that are.
Jim, I'm sure we have the same pratfall of the week.
Who knows? Because there were so many to choose from. But mine is easily when Spencer dragged Lauren by the arm and informed her they were going to make peace, and then said the deadly words that, like we mentioned, you should never say to someone: relax, take a deep breath. Pratfalls galore.
That was mine too. As I said, I figured we had the same one. Spencer, you need lessons in how to be a gentleman, because you, sir, were no gentleman.
I think your tiara is making you say things like that.
That was a Rhett Butler impersonation. Right. Okay.
It was so good. We just talk about Rhett Butler a lot because we're from the South. It's totally normal.
Oh, honey, we're so Southern that we love.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. As God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again.
Emails, tweets, and Instagrams. Oh my!
Jem, it was a sad week on Twitter, but also happy. So many mixed emotions.
Let's just start out by addressing the news elephant in the room. Something happened in the past few days that turned our world upside down. It's been brewing for a while, and you all know it, but our worst fears were confirmed just 72 hours ago.
Let's have a moment of silence for The Hills reality show on Hulu. Na, na, na,
Susan is bowing her tiara and singing a dirge.
We weren't the only ones who were upset about it either, Jem. We got many messages from a lot of you expressing your outrage, your disbelief, your pain, your sorrow. And we want you all to know we stand in solidarity with you. Our hashtag
Save the Hills on Hulu
did not work. We're so sad that Hulu lost the rights, and we desperately hope they re-sign with MTV so we can get The Hills back on Hulu, because watching it on MTV.com is a super unpleasant experience.
But you can still do that, FYI.
I'm about to buy the DVDs, Jem. That's how much I dislike it.
I'll tell you, Susan, when I'm on our social media accounts, I will not cease the use of hashtag Save the Hills on Hulu. I will continue to employ it until it works.
Resist, Jem. Resist.
Hashtag resist. Although we did get a very, very nice message from Hulu support saying, explaining why they were having to take it off and they were hoping to get it back soon. And it was a very prompt and kind response to us on Facebook. So we appreciate you, Hulu, but we'd love you a whole heck of a lot more if you would bring back our show so that we and all our pals can continue watching it, because we're only in season 2. We have like 83 seasons to go.
But the good news on Twitter this week was that Whitney Port and her husband Tim are pregnant.
Have we even done an episode since we found out about Lauren Conrad being pregnant?
I don't know.
Well, let's just celebrate them both here right now.
I think it's super exciting that Lauren and Whitney are pregnant at the same time.
Susan thinks that their kids are going to be best friends.
Yes, I did tweet that, and I want to go on record as saying I know they're not friends anymore. I don't think they ever hang out, and I was just being silly. I know their kids aren't going to be friends, but it's fun to joke about.
But what if the kids do like a Parent Trap thing where they like find out about their parents' past and about each other, and they come together and everybody gets back together and is friends again?
And we especially sympathize with Haley Emery because she had 6 more episodes to go in the last season when it was taken off. And Haley, the funny thing is, that's exactly where I was. I had 6 more episodes of season 6, and I will never get to watch them again unless I watch them on MTV.com. So I really love the message we got on Twitter from Ashley O'Calley. She said, this podcast is the one with the hard eyes emoticon, which is my favorite emoticon, as you know, Jem. Fans of The Hills, it's a must. I can't even. I loved that. That was so funny.
And she posted a screenshot of herself listening to one of my favorite episodes, Jordan is the Mad Hatter.
One of my favorite episodes too, Jem. Thanks for listening, Ashley. And it was such a sweet message. I was checking out her Twitter profile, and I wanted to say everyone should go to her blog, girlaboutcardiff.com. It is really funny. She does lots of fun things, and I especially enjoyed her blog post about our American election, who we just elected as president. She luckily is not from the United States. Super jealous these days.
She is from Cardiff, which might be the only place we can pronounce in Wales. Susan?
Absolutely. So go check out her blog. I really enjoyed it. So thank you, Ashley, for getting in touch, and we're so glad you're listening. I also wanted to shout out Allie and Nathan from the new podcast, Lost Watch. Now, Jem, I know you don't like Lost, but Lost is one of...
No. I don't dislike Lost. I just have never watched Lost.
That is the same thing. It pains me, Jem, that you have not watched Lost. It is such a good show.
It is a commitment that will have to wait for my retirement years.
That is true. It is a commitment. But anyway, they started the Lost Watch podcast, and I'm super excited about it. It starts in the spring. They just did their introduction episode, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it with them. And they found our podcast, and Allie's super excited about it because she's a Hills fan. So thank you for the nice tweets. And if you want to check out their podcast, you can find them at The Ordinary Folk on Twitter and check out their podcast. I think it's going to be released in April. And so we also want to thank Donna Lampkin for the nice words and for following us. And of course, our friend Naomi sent us some great tweets since the last time we recorded.
Hi, Naomi.
And thanks to Nick at Salvation Rider, we had a good chat about Stephanie Pratt and how beautiful she is and how much we admire her, and that was fun. And Sina and Anxiety Rants, thank you for the good conversations that we had. Thank you so much to everyone who writes us, talks about us on Twitter. We love when you share our page with anyone.
And also thanks for tagging us when important things on Instagram happen, because we just can't be on top of it 24/7. So we depend on our listeners around the world to let us know when breaking news is going down about one of the Hills cast members.
We just want to say we really appreciate everyone listening. And if you want to help us out, the best way you can do that is to leave a review or a rating on iTunes. We really, really appreciate it. That's how other people find us. So thank you to everyone who has already done that. If you have a moment to do it, that would be great.
If you hate us, please don't rate us.
I'll cry if you hate us, and then my tear will fall off and everything will just be a disaster.
And your Superman logo will disappear from your shirt.
You can reach us by email at wordsunspokenpodcast@gmail.com.
Our Twitter handle is @TheHillsPodcast. And our Instagram is Words Unspoken Podcast.
You can also find our website at wordsunspokenpodcast.com. You can stream all the episodes. You can find out more about me and Jem, although not our photos because we're super anonymous like that.
Y'all never see us outside of emojis that look like us.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next Friday.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
You and all your pretty little friends up in the hills where the party never ends. Your schemes and your dreams when you're whole and you're broken. I'm telling all about it in my words unspoken.
I think it's super excited. Wow, my grammar is out the window. I'm so hungry.
Grammar, what's that?